Hey everyone! If you've ever played on a multiplayer server, you've probably come into contact with one of these things. I'm not really sure what to call them. Player launchers, maybe? Definitely not in this form though, because these are done entirely with Redstone, with no server commands or plugins or anything like that. I've always found them a lot of fun and very interesting to use and play around with, so I wanted to see if it was possible to create them entirely in vanilla Minecraft. So today we're going to be talking about the variable faith plate, and all of its neat little quirks and how it works and what you can do with it. The variable faith plate is an automatic player launcher, or I guess kind of anything launcher, that uses a bunch of fancy circuitry to automatically reload itself with breeze charges based on a set number of items inside of here. This one is set to a level 6, which sort of explains why it basically sent that creeper into the stratosphere. A funny consequence of the way I actually designed that item counting system is that it doesn't actually care about how high you set that level, which means that same machine can essentially trivially clear this entire mountain, and all it takes is adding 6 more redstone dust to that little dropper there. On top of being able to customize the strength, I also invented a bunch of different variants for different needs. This one's called the dash plate variant, and it allows you to go at a much more horizontal angle, outlined in red, compared to the slightly more vertical angle of the original design in blue. I also invented an extremely vertical one called the jump plate variant, which can also yield a slightly even taller trajectory if you decide to walk onto the plate instead of sprinting onto it. Okay, so how the hell does this thing actually work? The way that it works at its core is it uses a slime block to propel a breeze charge through this tiny gap in the floor to blow up the player. The only issue is that if you just try to do that normally, this happens. The reason that happens is because the breeze charge doesn't actually hit anything, and putting something for it to hit into will just cause obstructions that will make the player really unable to actually get to the pressure plates. The way we're actually able to get around this is by moving the breeze charge a little bit to the right. By waterlogging the stair, you actually create flowing water inside of this block. Oops. There we go. And by moving this breeze charge up, it now actually spends a little bit of time with its hitbox intersecting this stair, causing it to be redirected to hit this carpet at exactly this point. This allows you to launch the player. This seems like an extremely easy and clean solution. The only problem, though, is that this breeze charge is in an extremely specific spot. How specific? If you move it to 3mm in either direction, then it's not going to work anymore. If you're wondering how small that is, the armor stand that's further away from me is 3mm to the right. So it's not like you can just push the breeze charge up against like a amethyst bud or something and have it be perfectly aligned. Great, so now we have an incredibly fun technology that's theoretically possible, but totally actually impossible, because how are we going to reliably align a breeze charge to 3 decimal places down? Well, actually, the answer is really simple. All you need is a boat. You push the breeze charge against the boat that's also at a very specific alignment, and that'll work perfectly. Except wait a minute, how the hell do we align the boat to 3 decimal places of precision then? It turns out that this actually isn't quite so hard. All you have to do is butt a boat up against a waterlogged trapdoor, put it in a cobweb, and when you splash it with water, it'll move extremely, extremely slowly. If you're able to precisely control how long this boat is being pushed by this water, then you should be able to get the boat reliably into a very specific location. For us, that's splashing the boat with water for exactly 48 ticks, 46 for the dash plate variant, which means that you have to stand against this trapdoor, stare at this particular spot on this crafting table, pull this lever while holding the keys W and D, and it'll take you exactly 48 ticks to step onto this pressure plate and stop the water from flowing. And in order to figure out this extremely intricate process to getting this boat to exactly the spot we needed, I used an incredibly complex mathematical process called trial and error and having too much free time. By the way, while we're here, if you do intend to build this in survival, the alignment for the dash plate variant requires 46 ticks of water, which means that you have to move your spyglass to this point right here. This was the original point. All you have to do is move it right between these 2 pixel lines and do the same thing. Then you could just drop the boat down into the machine. Now that we've talked enough about how we actually align the breeze charge, let's talk a little bit about how we actually get the breeze charges in the first place. The way we're able to capture them is done through momentum cancellation. A funny little science where basically if you detect this breeze charge as it's being shot at this iron column, and then quickly push it with a piston while it's inside powder snow, you can get it to stop. Powder snow has a unique quality where it causes the momentum, anything that's inside of it, to be instantly cancelled and the velocity set to 0. And you can get breeze charges to exhibit this behavior if you push them with a piston at the same time. Then, once the breeze charges are actually captured, we can just move them up using this simple piston elevator circuit. The next bits of technology, all just to make sure that everything runs and happens in the right order, as well as this little counting circuit which counts how many items are inside this redstone dust, and lets the breeze charge fire exactly that many times before moving the breeze charges up to the system. Okay, enough talk about how it works, let's talk about how to use it. When you use it, you just simply run straight across and hit the spacebar at just the right time. Takes a little bit of practice, but you should be able to reliably get at least most of the maximum height yield, as drawn in blue. If you don't do that, and you either jump too late or simply don't jump at all, you won't get actually as much height as you possibly can. The reason this happens is because the velocity of you jumping gets added to the velocity that you get from the breeze falls, so you just go further. A perhaps more obvious quirk with the device is that it obviously pairs extremely well with Elytra. Using the same machine we've been using, simply using an Elytra at the start of your launch just allows you to go much further. Oh, one more thing if you're actually going to build this. This machine does have an indicator light. If the indicator light is off, it's recharging, and the reason that's important is because if you're standing on the plate while it actually finishes reloading, then it will break the machine, which is really annoying, and not too difficult to fix, but definitely a little bit of an inconvenience. Alright, now onto the important question. Why the hell would anyone actually build this? Well, the thing is that I think they're just really fun to use. If I still played survival, I would definitely have a ton of them around my base just to be able to get around a bit more quick. Also, they're actually not that hard to build, provided you can acquire a breeze somewhat easily, which trial chambers are about like 500 blocks apart in the overworld, so that's also not too much of a problem either. The advantages to this particular device over just a bunch of dispensers and pressure plates is that you never actually have to reload it. It reloads itself automatically every single time you use it without the need for putting breeze charges in. It also comes with a lot more customizability. The particular middle of the ground design, not really applying to the dash plate and jump plate variants, also has a lot of variance in the direction you can actually travel. You just gotta hit the pressure plates at different angles. Also, one more thing. I ultimately decided to call this machine the Variable Faith Plate as a reference to Portal. The Portal franchise has these things called Aerial Faith Plates, which are essentially launch pads that function in very similar a pattern to this device. It feels very similar to use as how it is in the game. I also just really like Portal. It's called the Variable Faith Plate because previous designs didn't have nearly as much customizability, and this one has variableness. The strength is variable. Anyways, that'll be it for today. If you liked today's video, make sure to check out the other things that I'm working on. I tend to make a lot of other silly inventions like this. Also, make sure to subscribe if you want to see anything in the future that I'm working on, as well as make sure to join the Discord server if you want to see sneak peeks on stuff like that, or just have a quick chat with me. That'll be it for today, and bye-bye.